Alright guys, we're on the last section of the chapter, rewriting equations and formulas. This is a lot, I think this is a lot more abstract than the other sections, but you know, you're here and you got to do it, so let's figure it out. Again, we're starting on page 22, but we're just going to skip all this stuff. Let's just get to the meat of the lesson, really. Here are some common formulas. C as in Celsius is equal to 5/9 of Fahrenheit minus 32. Simple interest is you multiply the interest rate, which is typically some decimal, which is a decimal, 0.0 something usually. Principal is whatever amount of money you start with, and T is time in years. Distance is the distance, you know, how far something goes. Depends on how fast it's going and how long it's been going. So that's it. Solve the literal equation for y. So I want you guys to kind of like, you guys used to solving for x, but really in the last, in the whole chapter, really they throw other variables at you, particularly in sections 1.1, 1.2, and maybe 1.3. And so you treat them all the same. Like a variable is a variable. It doesn't matter what letter it is. And so when it says solve the literal equation for y, what it's asking us to do is get y by itself using inverse operations, however you do that. So if we look at this, again, using this little bar, and in fact I will set it out across all of them so I'm not confused. We are just separating these from the get. So this is the equal sign and it creates a barrier, a left side and a right side. We want the y to be by itself. It doesn't matter what side. Here we have a minus 2x. Well, how do you cancel out a minus 2x? Now normally some of you might think, oh, I'm going to have to divide by 2 or something like that. I don't care about x. I want y by itself. The only thing keeping y from being by itself is this little section right here. So you got to ask yourself, how do you get rid of that? Well, the leading sign is a minus. How do you get rid of that? Inverse operation, boom. But if you do it on one side, that was your cue to say, you got to do it on the other. You got to do it on the other side. So I have, this cancels out. I get y equals 15 plus 2x. That's it. No mas. Here, I have 4x. Again, some of you might be thinking, oh, how do I got to divide by 4. No. I just want to get rid of the whole 4x, not just the 4. And it's a positive number, so how do I cancel a positive? By subtracting it. Again, this has nothing to do with this sign. It has everything to do with the fact that the 4 is a positive number. So I'll subtract this. Now, I always say, don't forget to carry the negative sign. But you don't have to carry a plus sign because a number is understood to be positive with no symbol. So this right here is a positive y, which means I don't need that plus sign. On the right side, I will say 2 minus 4x. Here, y is on the right side. Again, I can leave it there. I just want it to be by itself. And what is keeping it from being by itself? This 8 right here. So you just got to ask yourself, will I add, subtract, multiply, or divide this 8? Well, it's a positive number and it's not being multiplied by y, so I will subtract it. And I will subtract it here because it's not like terms with x, or 5x rather. So I have 5x minus 10 is equal to 5y. And I got to divide by 5, right? But if you divide one side by 5, you got to divide both sides by 5. So I'm just going to divide everything by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1x. Negative 10 divided by 5 is negative 2. And 5 divided by 5 is 1. So I have 1y. So I have y equals x minus 2. Or x minus 2 equals y. If you want to flip around, you can. Because it equals, like I said, it doesn't matter whether it's on the left or the right side. Here we just got to subtract x. Wow, that was so simple. Why did they put that at number 4? Who knows? Y. And that has to do with the sign, the plus x. How do you get rid of plus x? Subtract x. Here again, we could We want to get rid of this minus, or sorry, we want to get rid of this positive 3x. How are we going to do that? 3x. 3x. You have a negative y. Again, do not, when you have a negative sign, you have to, it carries. You have to bring it down. But I don't want a negative y, I want a positive y. So I'm going to have to divide by an invisible number, negative 1. So I will say y is equal to 4 plus 3x. That's it. We're almost there, we're almost there. Negative 7. That's a positive 7, so I'm in the y is already on the right side. I'll just leave it there. So 3x minus 6 equals negative 4y. Divide both sides by negative 4. And there's not much simplifying we can do. I mean, that could simplify as 3/2, but I'm actually just going to leave it as is. 3x minus 6 over negative 4. Negative 4 divided by negative 4 is y. So, boom. Or if you wanted to, you could say y equals 3x minus 6 over negative 4, and that's that. Wow, a whole page's worth of problems. Easy peasy? If not, well, it doesn't have to be easy, but as long as you understood it, then that's what really matters. Again, if you need the practice, but there's your worked out problems, your examples. Solve the literal equation for x. I will do, let's see, I'll just do a few of these because I don't want to spend too much time. So again, we already have y by itself, but it says we are getting x by itself. So we have y equals 10x minus 4x, which is 6x. And how do I get how do I get rid of that 6? Divide by 6. It's being multiplied by x. I'm going to divide. Y over 6 equals x. Or x equals y over 6. Wow, this one is a bit more of a challenge. Again, we want x by itself, so let's look at this problem. We could factor. This one's actually pretty tough. We would factor 3x from both of these. Factoring meaning dividing. So 3x times 1 would give me 3x. So it's like the opposite of distributing is factoring, I suppose. It is. Okay, 9xz divided by 3x is 3z. So how does that work out? 3x times 1 is 3x, so it's still the same thing. It's still equal, right? And then 3x times 3z, well, 3 times 3 is 9. X times z is xz, right? It's just, there's no symbol, it's being multiplied. And if I'm multiplying by this, oh, no, I made well, not a grave mistake, but I made a mistake. I should have just factored the x, and that's what I will do now. So I'll say x 3 plus 9z. I factored a little wonky there, but now I have it. X times 3 is 3x, x times 9z is 9xz. If it's being multiplied, how do I get rid of it? 3 plus 9z. If you did not make that mistake while you were trying this problem, good for you. You saw that quickly, and you have a good eye for manipulating equations. So x is equal to q divided by 3 plus 9z. That's a 9. I know it's ugly. Boy, I just made it uglier. 9, not q. 9. This is a q. Okay. So let's get rid of this 4 first, because that just has nothing. It just has nothing to do with it. Equals 7x minus sx. Again, I'm going to factor, so I have r minus 4 equals x because we want x to be by itself, right? So I have 7. X times 7 is 7x. X times negative s is negative sx, so it still applies. Divide. This is going to be our answer right here. R minus 4 divided by 7 minus s. S, not 5. S. I will underline S. Okay. Alright, well, we'll just keep going. We got... So again, in class, I mean, I would be leaving this to you guys and answering the questions one-on-one, but obviously we are not in class, so we just got to go for it. See. Again, all these are just inverse operations, trying to get x by itself. I really, didn't do much talking on that problem because just to allow you to focus. So again, I'm going to try that approach with this one as well. I'm not going to say anything because I've done a lot of talking, and I want you to just look. Again, the objective is to get x by itself. And how do I do that? I have to get rid of everything that is not attached to, or I have to get rid of everything around the x for the x to be by itself. X wants to be alone. 4g minus r. Don't forget to carry that minus sign down and divide by negative 2. So we got 4g minus r divided by negative 2. That's our answer right here. 4g minus r divided by negative 2 is equal to x. Let's see here. We could add z or we could subtract 12. I'll just add z just to change it up a little bit. Again, if you do it on one side, I know I haven't been doing it much this lesson, but you should have gotten a buttload of that on the last 4 lessons. 4z plus 8 equals 12 plus 3x. Subtract 12, subtract 12. I'm just going to write it up here because I have the space, or I don't have the space to go down anymore. I mean, I kind of do, but it's just going to be messy. 4z, 8 minus 12 is negative 4. This cancels out. I have 3x. Again, at this point, you should recognize we just got to divide. So I have 4z minus 4 over 3 is equal to x, and that will be my answer. Once I get x by itself, everything else on the other side is the answer, completely the answer, okay? That's 1 through 12. Let's move on to the close of this lesson. Area of a triangle. Solve for b. So what's attached to the b? There's a 1/2 and there's an h, right? So in order to, we can get rid of it one at a time, we can get rid of it both at the same time. I'll just get rid of it one at a time, just so everybody kind of keeps pace. So to get rid of the half first, we got to multiply by the reciprocal. I know I mentioned this earlier in the chapter, but the reciprocal is just the fraction flipped upside down. So the reciprocal of 1/2 is 2 over 1. So a equals 1/2 bh. And I'm going to multiply both sides by 2 over 1, which is really just 2. Because when you divide by 1, it's dividing by it. I mean, nothing happens to it. So I have 2a, and this here, this half will be canceled by this 2 over 1. Now I have bh. And I want b by itself. And what is happening to b? It is being what by h? Add, subtract, multiply, divide. It is being multiplied. How do I cancel out multiplication? What is the inverse? Fraction, divide. So I have 2a over h equals b. That's it. Okay. For this very last one, we could start off with this fraction. So to get rid of it, we will multiply both sides by 3 over 1. I'm just going to do that right here. If you need to rewrite it, which you probably should, don't want to spend too much time rewriting stuff. I get 3v equals pi r squared h. H is being multiplied by all these things, so how to get rid of multiplication? Divide. Pi r squared. If you do it on one side, you got to do it to the other side. Pi r squared. So 3v over pi r squared. Alright, that's the end of the chapter. Hopefully you understood it. If not, you can always ask me questions. You can always ask your teacher questions. And good luck on your tests, whenever that may be.